Шановні гості, розпочинаємо засідання 6-ї дискусійної платформи SHEforSHE – партнерство та наставництво. Представляємо модераторку Ольгу Руднєву, директорку фонду Олену Пінчук. Запрошуємо спікерок та спікерів дискусійної платформи. Марія Єфросиніна, телеведуча, почесний посол фонду ООН у галузі народонаселення в Україні. Ірина Данилевська, співзасновниця Ukrainian Fashion Week. Світлана Войцеховська, народна депутатка України, співголова міжфракційного депутатського об'єднання «Рівні можливості». Олена Фроляк, журналістка, голова інформаційної служби телеканалу ICTV. Ванда Новіцька, президент Польської федерації жінок та членкиня консультативної ради Польського жіночого конгресу. Пані Ольго, вам слово.
Доброго дня. Дуже рада вітати вас на останній секції.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm very glad to welcome everybody here at the last panel. When I found out that I will be the hostess for the last panel, there won't be anybody in the room. But thanks to such an interesting program, such exciting and inspiring speakers, and I am grateful to you for all this. This panel will be about the mentorship. A year ago, Olena Pінчук Foundation and Coca-Cola Foundation, they started the Women's Project, and we've looked through a lot of research, and we wanted to understand what is preventing Ukrainian women from being successful. And the two most powerful insights that we've understood, this is the absence of role model on the first and the foremost. Unfortunately, our ladies don't have real role models. And the second insight is the stereotypical woman's success, because when the woman is success, many people consider her to be successful just because her father or her husband helped her or any other man. And we would like to tell you the stories of successful women, such as passed this way.
Вершини. І ми хотіли, щоб ці жінки стали менторками для молодих дівчат. І я дуже рада, що сьогодні в панелі є три наші менторки, які вже рік відпрацювали, ділячись своїм досвідом з дівчатами, які хочуть бути в тій чи іншій сфері. Ми сьогодні зібрали цю панель з дуже різних жінок. В нас є представниця бізнесу, в нас є міжнародне представництво, в нас є шоу-бізнес, в нас є медіа і в нас є Верховна Рада. І саме для того, щоб почути різні точки.
So just to get the different ideas. So now I would like to start with Wanda, Mrs. Wanda Nowicka. So, Alan, we're talking. Have you ever heard about the Men's Congress? What does it mean? What does it mean, the stigma? Why it should be like stigmatization of the Men's Congress? So, well, you know, I know every day about this Men's Congress, every day. So, well, Mrs. Wanda has the wonderful experience in Polish regarding the establishing the Congress, and we would like to ask you, what did that Congress made for the Poland history, and how it could be helpful to be very successful for women in Poland using this type of experience?
Дякую, що запросили мене.
Let me first start by greeting you on behalf of the Polish Women's Congress. We are a sisterly organization. We are a bit older because this year we had a 10th Women's Congress in Łódź, not in Warsaw as we used to have usually. And we would like to support you in all your endeavors you are planning. I hope you finally will have Istanbul Convention ratified. So we are keeping fingers crossed for that. Speaking of the experience of the Polish Women's Congress, it started with the impulse. Because, you know, in 2009, it was a 20th celebration of Poland's independence from Russia regime. I mean, Poland has become an independent and democratic society. And on that occasion, there has been a huge congress of former dissidents, later decision makers, politicians, with almost any woman in it, and with complete ignorance or ignoring the fact that Polish women were very active in our underground, under communism, and so on. So that was the impulse that many of us decided why we have to have our Congress, and that's how it started. Basically, this is what drives us, is to have congresses everywhere in Poland. So we have a central congress in Warsaw. Now it's congress moving to other places, but they are also local congresses. So there is a rule in Women's Congress which says, if you like an idea, just do it. Because there were many women coming, oh, you should be doing this, or you should be doing that, or they were unhappy that something hasn't been done. So why don't you do it? And that's that this principle really makes that the Women's Congress is extremely inclusive. Let's say almost anyone can come with an idea and do something around that. So a lot of mentoring is also happening, because those women who work locally, and they need support from those more experienced ones. So the Women's Congress is organizing trainings, regular trainings. This is like Summer Women's Academy. This is a tradition where women from all parts of Poland who want to engage in things, they come and get some support, network, and there is a great net of women's organizations all over the country. And before the elections, Women's Congress is also very active in training women. Women's Congress is non-partisan. There are women associated with different political ideas and groupings, or they are not. But as a principle, it is not. So we support all the women who support Women's Congress mission. So this is the principle. If you support our mission, if you are pro-women, pro-women's rights, reproductive rights, so on, yes, you are a part of us. And so next year there are going to be 3 elections in Poland. No, 2 elections. The first we just had local elections. So there have been huge number of women, and more women now are elected in local governments, and we hope that it will happen also next year. And maybe at this point, just my sentence about my experience, because when a couple of years ago, I was a member of parliament and deputy speaker, and at that time also we've been able to organize a lot of things in the parliament, because there was my principle of the parliament, in Polish it's same, is open. So women, for the first time in their life, from all over the country, were coming to see how it works, that it's, anybody can do it. Just you have to, first you need to want these things, and secondly to really, you can do it. So you can do it, that's another principle for our Congress. Thank you.
Дякую дуже, пані Вандо.
Thank you, Mrs. Wanda. For Ukrainian Women's Congress, Polish Women's Congress is a kind of a rolling model, the role model. And then I know that Masha, you are the role model for lots of girls. You are telling me for the second time in my life, or always time, you're just introducing me in a very special way. So I would like to find out, that's a great responsibility to be the role model for many girls. And could you tell us what's the celebrity and the very famous people like you, what they can do just to help the women? What do you do, and how do you use this power you have? I mean, media power just to help to the women, those who are in need, and those who need the support from you. Thank you for the question, and thank you for your attention. It's not the responsibility, it's also the great responsibility, and it's changing your life. And just to take this responsibility and to understand this power, I had few years just to get to understand that. So I'm I'm a child of the Soviet parents, and I grew up in a very specific Soviet stereotypes, and it was very important to marry the right person and to die the same day with my husband. Then I started my career on the TV channels, and Olena proves that this is very interesting, I'd rather say intimate work, because you're working one by one with the camera. So from one side, you're just, talking to the people, but you can see only camera before your eyes. And in the year 2014, that was a very special, turbulent time for our country, and we started to think about the senses of life. So I was thinking, I am popular. What can I get from it? What can I do with it? And then I'm talking about the changes. And the first thing I started to think how to touch, how to feel the audience, how to find my direct audience, the client, the woman. So because a lot of girls, they are coming to me and they say, I'm growing with your programs. How can I stand it? Because, I'm not so old. I'm still young, and it's very young. So, I know that some clients, they are with me for 15, 20 years. So, and it's, for me, I'm just sharing my own history, my story. And, I've been talking about the healthy lifestyle. I was also telling about my mistakes, what I've done in my... also, I was sharing with my different mistakes in my private lives, etc. So, and there was like a magic in my life. So, when I came to understanding that there is a great change when you're talking face by face. You have to be honest in sharing. There is no secret. There is no what you're talking about, how to eat, what to get rid of waste, and how to treat my kids. It's a kind of a chemical thing. It's a chemistry. It's a chemistry and it works. And the opponent person starting to be open in response, and they asking a lot of different questions, and they started to ask different questions. They asked me different questions about how to explain to my husband, for example, that you are 30 and then you want to develop, how to explain to mother-in-law that if you would like to get the driver license, that means that you are not bad mother, but you want to develop, how to explain to your partner that if you would like to go to have the specific socializing party with your girlfriends, that means that you are not very bad mother, how to explain. And then I started to think how to explain it, and I was starting to think what to be more acceptable, how to explain. And this is a kind of a journey for a few years already. For this years, I've met a few hundreds Ukrainian ladies, and I'm absolutely sure that there is a problem, the problem of so-called pressure. I'd rather say it's not the pressure for the hard life of women, yeah, but it's a pressure towards the women's freedoms, and mental freedom. So, well, those of my age, women, they are in DNA, that's understanding that I have some depth to my husband, so well, that I have to do something more for my husband. And now the youngest, they just, demanding the different rights and the different freedoms, how to let myself, for example, to develop. That's very important, so well, and it's very important issue. It doesn't matter whether she's busy, she's alone, single, married, with kids, without kids. We are always asking myself or ourselves what I had done in my life for the better life of my kids, for my life, for my relatives, etc. So well, and a few years ago I've been even crying and talking to my pillow, like, let's say, like that. So well, and now the the girls and the ladies, they are not doing this. So well, then I was invited to join the Hungary ambassador. I was the Hungary, and I am the Hungary ambassador, and I joined the UNFPA in Ukraine, Seoul, and I said, we've been visiting a lot of shelters, we've been visiting a lot of places with women who escaped from the husbands, they are living there, so well, and I've visited few shelters. I saw that women live in there, so well, majority of them, they are unemployed because they were oppressed by the husbands. And it's a kind of a circle. A woman is coming back to her house, and then what was going to do with her? So, well, no work, nothing, and back to the husband who used a lot of domestic violence, who raped her. So, well, and it's and I saw about 18 ladies beaten by their husbands, and they cannot find the solution. They have the way, they how to find to develop themselves, how what to do for the development. That's all. The work is also very important. So, well, mentally, it's a very important thing to understand. That's a pain. We are living with this pain. And this pain, it's not visible. And, from one side, everything is so nice. We live our lives normally, regularly. But what I saw the great despair of that women. And I saw them what happened to them when they lost their rights to have the freedoms. I have no idea what to advise, but at least you have to start to be active. Internet work, so maybe flower shop, whatever, but it's the story of the lady or the woman. If the woman would like to start the handmade business or whatever, just to make her own money, so well, she needs to think about her earnings, and then he needs not to involve into her life. So well, and that is why I think she, as a woman, has to be independent. So thank you, Masha, for your very special and very open and very frankly answer. So well, what you are doing is very important thing. So well, you touched a very interesting topic, and this topic already been discussed today 2 times, and there was economically independency. And that is why I would like to talk to Irina Danilevska. Irina Danilevska, 21 years ago, founded the Ukrainian Fashion Week, 21 years old of this business. Who was your role model? Maybe you had some mentors, maybe you had a kind of a great positive sample for you just to make something in Ukraine like the model you had before. So, well, my mentor and my role model was my grandfather. So well, I lost my parents quite early, and I was educated by my grandmother. My grandmother she had almost 1.5 highest education. She was the director of the theater. It was so simple. And I was quite supported from the side of the very strong woman. And the strong woman, and I saw also that my grandma was so strong because she lost my mom, her daughter, and then my grandma educated us, 2 kids of my mom. So well, I'm very happy for this question. So it was very scary for my business. So well, it's very serious Ukrainian fashion, but fashion as the business is a very important thing, and that's also in Ukraine. This is a kind of a key idea also. Well, what about the mentorship? If you're talking about the mentorship and the best examples, but I would like to say, Ola, because of this issue, I think that it's very important thing so well. But listen, we are responsible of what our kids do, what they are doing, what type of value they have. Well, I'm very happy to be invited from the side of this Congress and Fonda, and then I'm very happy. But I want to say that the most important for me was to explain that mentorship, it's not the profession. Mentorship is not the profession, and it's not only the profession. Mentorship, it's a kind of a transformation, it's a kind of a transmission, it's a kind of a passing your value from your side to another side. So it's a kind of a something to share with. You have to give, and you have to explain these principles to the other person so well, and the person would be happy because it's not only the advices. They would be very happy that you draw the perspectives of this development. So well, we have to understand the priorities, and it's a kind of a long-term perspectives of your development of your life. It's for yourself, for my family, for my company, for my team. And, we found these 2 words, reliability and professionalism. Reliability, I'd rather say, and professionalism. These 2 words will save Ukraine. And this is very important words, 2 words for Ukraine, reliability and professionalism. I want to say that you can put a lot of responsibilities for kindergarten, for schools, etc., etc. But talking to girls of different age, I always say that responsibility is on your shoulders. It's your responsibilities. It's your family, and your husband also responsible. In the family, we can share the main principle, and this main principle and principles will be developed. Masha said to us, I'm much older than Masha. Masha already told us about the Soviets' inheritance and Soviet type of behavior. Well, yes, from outside it's true, but what we've done in our families, we've been sitting in our kitchens, talking, discussing. We were talking about honesty, freedom, friendship. And we were talking about the country where we lived with the lack of these values. Some of us were discussing, some just drinking horilka and cried, etc. So on. No matter what type of limits you have, but our own freedom is to say to your own kid that you, my kid, you have to understand this is good and this is bad, and this is your understanding. I have 3 grandkids. Every year, every 3 years of them, we are having the so-called ceremony, to make this a kind of a devotion to the night. So, well, that's a kind of a very special ceremony, family ceremony. So, well, they are becoming a knife, and it's a kind of a very special things. So we have the barbecue, etc. I always say Kazakhs or knights, etc. So we're just, using the national ideas, etc. So historical ideas. The idea is that if you are providing the confidence and the title of Cossack or knight to the baby, you're giving the confidence and you're giving them the rules. And this is very idea because you will tell them what the real knights, the gentlemen, do and what they don't. We do not know how to behave sometimes. We do not know whom to vote for, to whom. And we do not know whether we go for voting or not. Shall we participate or not? Anyway, so well. Even we do not know what to do. Shall we visiting our neighbors to collect money for the renovation of our house or whatever? So, but at least we have to understand we are professional, we are reliable, or I am reliable, I am professional, I'm good, and it gives us to make the right steps, choice, and conclusions, etc., and then to do good things. And that is why, first of all, I'm very thankful that I'm a mentor, because I was scared of being a mentor, yes, honestly speaking. And I thought it was just, very, very, very scary responsibility. And I thought maybe not to be a mentor anyway. So, well, I was doubting. Yes, I was in that period of time. But after that, after we met each other, yes. We have the person, the disabled person, so she's dealing with the beauty ideas, etc. So, and then I say, and then she's dealing with the public activities, etc. So, fashion and beauty business. The lady is very beautiful, this disabled one. She's very good, very active. I'm just telling you the example. So, well, honestly speaking, to be a mentor for her, I was very scared. And then I understood for myself that I was thinking of importance of being a mentor. The main principle of mentorship is it's not to push. If they want, okay. If they don't want, okay. But I should not to push my professional knowledges to them. But what my responsibility is, I need to share my life values. This is very important thing. Thank you so much. And I want to repeat, when we started this, then we had also, we were thinking about the life and about the questions, and we were thinking, maybe some of them wanted to be the MPs or whatever. So we were talking about the professional things. We've been talking about some simple values. And I'm very thankful, Ira, that you really shared with us the main message that mentorship is to pass the life's values to that young girls. So Mrs. Olena Frolyak, and we had the men's panel, and Mr. Bogutsky said, especially ICTV, then Bogutsky said that the majority of ICTV are women's positions. So mainly all of them are women, except director. And but Bogutsky said that's okay, even the chief executive is a woman, so well, he said. So Mrs. Olena Frolyak, journalist, the news editor of the ICTV. So, well, could you tell us, do you have any ideas, maybe do you have a system of mentorship, how to support these girls who are coming, joining to the channel, and they do not know the principles of how to make the career, and what do you do for supporting them. Do you have any advices for this new employees? Thank you for this question. First of all, I would like to greet you. So Ola Rudneva told me that the last panel, and then I didn't expect that a lot of people are here. So well, the people still here, so they all responsible, and that is why you are still here. So will I tell you, well, really, it's true. 70% of our employees in the news channel, about 70% are women. So, and you know, in the end of the day, we can get a lot of information from United States in the end of the day, just to make the translation. By the way, not enough men for translation, and you know, but it's very too complicated to burden things so well, and it's very complicated and very hard work because that is why we have so a lot of hard wasting energy work, I'd rather say. Well, where our men are right now in the ministries, deputies, parliament, etc. So, but you know, what do we do in our channels? So we're just preparing the news, the set of news, etc. So well, when the journalists are joining us from the journalist universities, and then they are asking us, they want to work, and I ask them, so well, are you ready? Are you sure that you would like to join us? Because, you know, it's a lot of work, because you will have families, but at the same time, you will be so busy, etc., too far from your family. And I said, girls, be ready for this extremely hard work. And I said, it's not the best idea to have the fantastic figure or good makeup. You have to know what to talk, what to say, because you have to put something in your head just to get something from here. And camera feels it. And if you have only channel jacket and nothing interesting, because, you know, even camera feels it, and then the audience can feel it. So, well, it's very interesting support. Ira Danilevska already said, mentorship, it's a support, the support of the women. And then because, you know, some so busy, they can travel a lot, and a lot of journalists that working in the different areas, including ETO. But what I would say, responsibility is very important, and we can get it from our women colleagues. And I know for sure that the journalist, if she's a woman, she will definitely get all the best interviews, make this best records, etc. So, well, I really need men in our profession, but I want to say that really everything depends on the energy and efforts of women, by the way, because, you know, we know that, you know, they're so busy, but then they need to come back home to cook for the husbands, etc. So what I'm doing, I'm supporting them. I'm just even providing them compliments, you know. I haven't heard the compliment from the side of the men. Yes, they say it's a kind of a hard-working horse, you know, the only one thing they tell me, you know. So let's say, Olena, you have to look good, etc. So, etc. So, we are so busy. We're so really busy. And my mentorship is to support. And I always says, you know, behind of this screen, there are lots of people, smart and not smart, men, women, different. So you have to understand. You have to have something to share. You have to have something to say, and find the time to work, to develop, find time for self-development, to visit cinemas, theaters, etc. Because smart woman, smart journalist, it sounds very, very wonderful. It's a kind of a pride to be a smart woman. And also, compliment is good, and understanding that profession is very hard, and the support it with good words, etc. So everything works. So while Mrs. Olena reminds me about parliament, that all men are there in the parliament. And Pani Svetlana, so Mrs. Svetlana, we know that the president says that only 12.5% are women. and this parliament has less women than the previous. So what about deputies, people's deputies, members of parliaments, what they can do just to increase the number of women in the parliament? What do you think? What is your opinion? How it could be? And so the average woman, what, yes, they are dreaming, what you can do for that people? You in the parliament, what we can do just at least to have less men there in the parliament. So, well, it doesn't matter, the big amount or small amount, but the only one issue is they have to be very sensitive, gender sensitive. I'm a so-called quiet politician, and it's easy for me to open the door to the prime minister than to have the presentation before the audience. And so, I was in charge of the prime minister's office. I was the steering committee's chief executive. I was in charge of the different banks, etc. So on. Well, how can I say about my experience? I had no discriminations, look at yourself, And then I started to think that, passing all this state and parties' work, we, even successful women, they say, well, we are very, very successful, but we still face this so-called soft discrimination thing. So they say, Sveta, you created established such a wonderful office and party. Everything is fine and so well. So you are the only one to deal with them. So, it's a kind of everyday process to prove that you are available to do it. And when we, together with Mrs. Olena, we established in the first political party for women. Yes, and they say, oh, that's a kind of a, stupid thing. So we'll let them play, but then after that, when 1/3 joined the local authorities, so well, then it was absolutely obvious that this issue is very important. So well, we understand that it is very important to be socially involved, and I would say a few advices. First of all, if you want to change the world, you have to start to be active in the area where the main decision-making process is in process. And then you have to understand for yourself, you have to make a decision, and you have to prove your partners, your friends, and then you have to understand for what you want to change it. And then this is the first victory. And the second, you have to have the support from the side of your partners. Every successful woman has the successful partner, supporter, and the person who is really who supports you. So you have to be brave. Yeah, 12%, even 11%, honestly speaking. 11% of the parliament, for the parliament. It's not much, but you have to be brave to fight for the rights. And you have to understand that you can face a lot of misunderstandings, etc. So you have to be goal-oriented. In the parliament, the president of European created the nickname for me. The Miss Naполегливість can be translated as the goal-oriented person. This is my even nick in the parliament. So don't be scared to make mistakes. We cannot be ideal, but every step, every mistake will be very helpful for you, and then you will continue to move on. And the fourth, I am absolutely confident, and I believe in the so-called sisterhood of us. We had the sisterhood. We had Natalia Kobrynska. We had the Union of Ukrainian Women of Halachina, and they were very active in the year 2017-18. So this movement was destroyed in the year 1930s, 1938. That's because of the destruction from the side of the Soviet Union. They destroyed it. And then, so, well, the sisterhood, this support is very important. Try to find the day, and if the person would like to become politically active, so I'll talk to her, speak with her, talk with her partners, just talk to the parents of your kids that this lady, this girl would like to become the politician. If you are in charge of the community, so well, you have to find out the very specific invisible power, those who are 60 plus. Provide the specific working places for them. Just invite them for consultations, for advisors. Just ask them to work with the girls. Because a lot of elements are quite in use. 11% of the women in the parliament, it doesn't mean that they are gender sensitive. But we have to use quality, but not quantity. And we use quantity, which is not so important, but quality is very important. So, well, you know, we've been, for example, for the specific decision, we've been working together with 4 or 5 people only, but it's also good. This is what I wanted to share. What I've heard, so you should not be a mentor, because anyone could be a mentor, but just do it, and that's it. Just do it. Just do it. That's a kind of mentorship. It's a kind of a passing the values from one to another. And I would like to ask Mrs. Wanda. So for me, that's a great satisfaction for me compared to the other year was the understanding that there are more men in the audience in the hall than even on stage too. But it's very pleasant. We want to have more men. What do you think? Could you tell us what we have to do just to attract more men to come for the women's events, for the women's congress? Because we do not want preaching for the converted ones. So, well, we want to do something. Could you advise to attract them to come? So, well, I know that some of the men who came to us, they came for support of the wives. So, well, what shall we do to see more men on stage and in the audience, please?
Thank you for this question. I find it very important. And yes, from the experience of the Polish Women's Congress, I can also confirm that including men in our work, in our teams, sometimes it is a crucial thing, although it is not easy. In the beginning, when we've started, there has been some reluctance to have men on board, knowing from the past experience that you have one man among 10 women and then he's the main reference point for women, that it changes the dynamic of the group. However, since I would say not only Polish women's movement has become more aware of gender issues, there, as I said before, there are also more and more men, especially young men, who understand that feminism, gender issues are equally important, and for them and for women, and they want to be involved. So yes, so they participate in the congresses. There is also a special award, because we at Women's Congress, we like to give awards to people to recognize for what they've done. So there are yearly awards for important women, but also there are awards for the men. And that's really, and for men being awarded by the Women's Congress, Believe me, this is really something. So what they really value and appreciate. But also I would like to stress that since this is so important, because Women's Congress is also very active in promoting certain ideas at political level, and we know who runs the show, who is in decision-making bodies. So, for example, when one success story of the Women's Congress was that at the very beginning, like it was, I think, in 2010, we wanted to have the parity legislation for equal participation of men and women in political bodies. And the Women's Congress developed the legislation, and we couldn't submit it because we were not at Parliament at that time, but we started the civic legislative initiative. You have this in your constitution probably as well, this initiative. You need to, in the Polish case, you need to collect 100,000 signatures within 3 months. And then you can submit the law to Parliament, and the law has to be considered. It doesn't have to be passed, but it has to be considered. So the Women's Congress has been collecting signatures, and men and women and celebrities and young girls and boys were collecting those signatures. We collected much more than 100,000. The law went to Parliament, and the law was not passed in the form like parity, 50-50%, unfortunately, but it was the minimum 35% for underrepresented sex. So it is the law good for men once there are more and more women's politicians. So when I was in, so that's thanks to this legislation, more and more women can get, because at every electoral list, there must be, the parties are obliged to have minimum of 35% of, I don't know, do you have this quota system here in Ukraine? If not, I would encourage you to undertake this kind of initiative, because it's also very inclusive. People want to collect signatures, they want to be involved. So by doing, you are also raising awareness and empower people and so on. And then when I was in Parliament a couple of years ago, I initiated the legislation, parity legislation, with the support of the Congress of Women. Unfortunately, the Conservative Parliament majority, which is in majority, didn't pass this legislation. However, the debate about this, it's really raised a discussion in the society, because sometimes you propose things, you know that there is no chance for them to be passed at that particular moment, but debates in the media, in the society, they change the awareness of the society. And I would say that the Polish society is more progressive than decision makers. There are people who support progressive policies. However, politicians usually are, in the Polish, I'm speaking only about Polish context, are very, in general, very conservative. So once the society is better understands the importance of certain things, it has the power to push the politicians to introduce it. So this is like a top-down direction of change, in which I believe it is not a short process, it is long-term process, but this is necessary because, you know, if you want to have gender equality everywhere, and in politics, and in personal life, in labor context, then you know you have to do a lot of work. So that's what we do. Thank you.
Дякую дуже.
Thank you so much. Now I would like to talk to Maria, and then recently, it was about 2 weeks ago, Masha talked to the subscribers to social media, and so it was a kind of a very special message about the domestic violence, but I would like to talk about this issue. So Masha became the ambassador of UN, so well, and I would like to ask her what is to be done for women to stop the domestic violence. So while we're talking about the different activities on the level of the state, on the highest authorities, what shall we do? So well, shall we talk in between women, what we as women can do just to stop this domestic violence? What's your opinion, please? I am not the person perfect to use lots of abstracts from the literature, but I do really love one phrase, and then this phrase has lots of messages. The phrase from Mother Teresa. The Mother Teresa says, everybody's so sorry about hate, but hate is not the worstest things of our the worstest thing among us. Not the hate, but when the person doesn't care, oh, this is the worstest thing. So, well, yes. Well, we do have even the proverb in Ukraine. My house is in the border of the village. That means you're out of the news or whatever. So if you have the case, for example, a friend of you or a friend of your friend is suffering from the domestic violence, you have to take into consideration this. So, well, it's not only physical contact. So we do have 4 different violences: psychological, economical, and shelter in Kryvyi who have been there. So it was the a woman sitting with 3 kids, and it was she was under the Great Depression, and he was under the Depression. And she was depressed because it was the great humiliation from husband, and their husband said to her, so how many kids you made for me? So it's a great humiliation. So lots of women, million according with the statistics, they are suffering from all this above mentioned 4 types of violence. It's a kind of epidemic, this figure. There's so many cases. I've heard that a lot of people, even not so peaceful, we can hear the neighbors, screaming at each other. So well, and we are quiet. We are still indefinite because we do not want to interrupt or to do something. But it's also the cause why. And the social responsibility is very important. The social responsibility deals with activity. The hospital, for example, and the doctors, the raped the woman can come for get a specific support. 5 minutes after observation or after the expertise. The doctor should spend at least 5 minutes just to get more information instead of physically observation. So well, the doctor should collect some information from her, but none of them are doing it. And the idea is it's a kind of a long process to apply the specific letter to the policeman, etc. So it's a very long talk. So well, I don't want even to talk about this. So well, we have not to be passive towards the other things. So no, we don't have the perfect legislation system, and in the coming few years, we are going to approve the new law, and we will expect in this new law against the domestic violence. And we're still fighting to get this. We can stop this violence. We can call the policeman or Polina service. It's a kind of a social agencies. They can be very helpful, and they can support the wife of the bad husbands, for example. So, and the only one step, you have not to be out of this activity, and you have to be caring, and then you have to share with all this information with your daughters, by the way. And you have to explain to your daughter how to protect herself, how to build this relationship with the man. You have also to share what does it mean, what is violence, or what is harassment. And recently I talked to the students and I asked them, what do you think if they push you or they use the very bad words? What? And I asked them, what do you think? What do you think? It's normal, I asked them. Everybody said, of course, no. But it's not normal. But you know that statistically speaking, if a person or at least one bit or another push would be, repeated, so you have to make sure. So you have to share about the signals. If you've heard about the bad things, humiliations, or maybe the person pushed you or whatever, so it's a very bad signal. If it's already done, it's already done, and it will be repeating. And we have to teach them. And I want to repeat a few times. In many cases, all that things, violation of these things could repeat, etc. So, but it would be better to have the better experience to the daughters. They have to explain to them. They have to be not out of the knowledge. So, well, they should understand the so-called verbal and nonverbal signals. So it's very important. And we have a so-called deficiency of the communication, so we have to provide them the power how to find the exit of it, how to solve this problem. So we have to raise this awareness for them. So well, and none of us are telling, come on, this is the agency, this is the shelter's number, this is the telephone number of the agency to help you. So well. Do it, because, for example, you propose to her, but I think you'd rather, support women. There is the gap in between normal things. So while the faster they are falling, the worse the situation would be for them. So well, we have to stop from fall down. Thank you. So we touched the very complicated issue. Now I would like to ask Olena Frolyak what the mass media can do, what they can provide, what they can, because it's a great connections with the subscribers, with the social media, etc. Social media is okay, but the majority are watching TV channels. So I know, people are watching TV. What is the role of TV channels and how to build this women's support structure? And what TV channel ICTV is doing. First of all, we have to share, we have to provide the information. So we started the archives. We made a kind of a specific plot about the woman who was the head of the local authority for 36 years. So I think it's a good idea to invite her to participate in the Congress. So the simple woman from the village Protsy, no Range Rovers, no villas, no fantastic coat, etc., just bicycles, etc. And the members and the citizens of the city, they are coming to her and they have the wonderful relationship with her as with mom. So, she is great because if we are coming and ask her for something, they just do it. She's do it, but just do it. That's it. So anyway, this is great. But she's so active. She's active for 36 years already. So we're telling about this stories, women's stories. We're just telling about the chief executives of the Green Movement. So well, we had the article about the mayor of Oslo. So she's 67 years old, so she can, launch the space shuttles, by the way, so active. So well, and We've been talking about the engineers, engineers who are working for Boeing company, and there have women in that team of engineers. So we have to share this information. So, for example, we have to share. We had not to hide the information. We have such a many scientists, engineers, etc. And Boeing found that those specialists, women specialist engineers, they are the best. So we have to share. We have to give this information. So I've got the information that Claire Foy, the Queen Elizabeth, the series Queen, so well, she made 20% less money than the actor man. So well, she's such a talented actor. She was trying to use the Elizabeth, even the way of walking, and she was so hard worker, but she got 20% less salary than gratitude. I mean, than the other men actors. So well, I think we have to share. Well, we have lots of things, but at least you have to be active. You have to. Wake up, you have to stand out of your sofa and continue to be very active. So I ask you, girls, women, if you have any positive, successful stories, I mean, women's stories, if you've heard something, if you want to share, please give us the call to ICTV channel and we will share your story with everybody. I promise. Olena, thank you. And Irina, fashion. What does it mean? Fashion, it's a kind of the language of images. And you can use images and you can tell a lot of things with the help of image. I remember we had few programs and projects dealing with AIDS. So, well, and it was a specific, very special projects, etc. So we came to Mrs. Danilevska, but we're thinking, talking. We just, started to use fashion industry's ideas, and we used this communicative fashion tools to use to support the women to get this support in between themselves. How it could be to use fashion ideas. I want to say that fashion is a very good sample. It's a well, recently I had the Vita Club conference. Mrs. Tegipko established this club, and I saw IT specialists and they are women. So now I was talking to them a lot of interesting things, etc. So, well, we had the ideas what to we get from great business and how to install these ideas, etc. But what I'm talking about the things that in reality fashion is like the iceberg. You can see the toppest thing. Let me say primitive way, but everything on top bright is so shining, so beautiful. What it's true, but and you can use these perfect, brilliant things only in the way when you have the need. And so we made it, we used it. 3 years we had this program for Fashion It. So it was the designers' collections of male cooking stuff, and we were trying to talk to the very special, ambitious people, those who are, and then they are one of the vulnerable people, I'd rather say so, because those who are using drugs, those who could be drug addicts, or so on. And we were trying to get them through emotions, through pictures. So fashion is a good picture. Let us be honest, we are not reading a lot, but we can see the pictures. So, well, we still trust the pictures. I don't want to say that the youngest, the less reading, but also there is unfortunately a tendency. Fashion is the beautiful picture, and you can trust this picture. And because of it, You can talk to the people and talk to the people and discussing the very important problems. Jean Brice in Ukraine, Balenciaga in France, brand Dolce and Gabbana in Italy. 1, 2 seasons, 3 seasons, they are establishing, creating the collections for families. Family collections. So oldest, youngest, pregnant, Balenciaga boy with the kids, etc. So another boy with a kid, Jean Fitzgerald, 2 boys and one girl and 2 young teenagers, etc. So it's a beautiful picture. It's light and beautiful picture and very influential. You can influence to the attitudes, to the role of the man in the family. So, well, it's very obvious that beautiful man looks so beautiful with the kid, with the baby. So, well, you can see on that catwalk, for example, the sewing machine, for example. It's a kind of a special invitation for you to visit the sewing lab where they are tailor working, for example. It's a kind of a call to be opened. It's very hard to sell the products without history or emotions. It's impossible. It should be a story behind. It's story behind. And this is very important. And then for this very things, for social fashion ideas, we have to use this type of I want to say that the year before previous, we had the projects who is on beauty, not on duty, but on beauty today, who is beautiful today. And it was a kind of a photo session, and it was the photo session was the girl, was the old lady, the professional model, but it was disabled person. Yes, Lena knows I'm talking about Sasha. So we'll also have the who is on beauty today. We also have the model of Afro-Ukrainian, I'd rather say so. Well, another was the girl who didn't look like a girl at all. Also quite successful picture. So Masha, you said us, we are not so cruel. We are not so angry. Well, sometimes, somehow, we don't care. This is because we're inside of ourselves with the problems, etc. But this type of project, they are dealing with fashion. They just provide to the people the idea to think, to stop and think. Yes, it's reality. Gotcha. It's true. 60 years old, it's not a bad age. And then you can look better at your 60s than at my 36, for example. So, well, it should be done not only by fashion, but it should be done only in fashion business or whatever. So, well, it should be done by everyone. So, well, I would like to express special thanks to our speakers, to my colleagues, to my friends, those who are here. And I would like to say that we can do it. Let's do it. Well, you don't need to go on top of this iceberg and shine as a star. You have to shine every day. You have to do it in every thing in good way. Do it good, do it better. So you have to be caring. You know, you can see, for example, in the shop that the parents are trying to beat the kids. So how many of us would stop and talk to that parents? It's not so often, but I want to say that let us not be people out of care. So we have to talk about this on the Women's Congress, because on CTV is also very important. Olena, I would be happy to talk to you on ICTV. So it's very important to discuss it on the Women's Congress. We are voting for the equal opportunities, for objective opportunities, but it doesn't matter whether we are women or men. We have to be equal, but women different. women are more stress resistant. A Ukrainian lady, it's true, very stress resistant. So smarter, better, and so you have to understand 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, and then after 10 you can say what you think. You have to be smart. Let's think. So it doesn't matter. We are women. We are different. We're not men. And then it's not so scary. This is also the advantages. Let's use it. And the big business, by the way, fashion, not only fashion, I use this quite actively. And there are lots of good statistics how more successful are women. Even financially, they are very successful. Companies, those successful companies were majority women. So well, this panel demonstrates a lot that all women and every woman has the influence. But if you want to change the world, you have to go to that place where you can get the instruments for changes. And I want to pass the microphone to Svetlana. And I want to say that this Congress is very important for the representatives of the regions. So maybe you would like to say some advices to the regional participants, how to influence on the changes in their surroundings, what to do. We are sitting, talking, we have some instruments, some of us working on the TV channel, some working in the showbiz, etc. So on. But if you are living in the regional centers or regional rural areas, how to change the world around you, how to support other people. Nothing new, and the experience of our European partners, we mentioned already 2 or 3 things. The main thing, just to change the gender stereotype, which are the very unfortunately strong. You have to change the system of education and the system of our mentality. Mentality could be changed because of the changes in education. I am a great fighter for these educational changes, and the law on education should also accept some gender contents. And if we're not changing the stereotypes, then we will use a lot of steps, and the way would be so long. What we can do together, some 20-30% of the parliaments, well, all the 20% of the women in the parliament, they cannot change something with a specific public response. So we could be the chief executive, chief of the business, etc., but we all change something. If we're talking about the political quota, well, I'm talking about the gender quotes, etc. So could you tell me who is those of you who rose these questions within your party organizations? You see, Pierre, you see 5 hands only. So every woman actively in the political work, we do have the majority deputy in every region, and they are against from it. So well, listen, who is asking the deputy? Come on, we are electorate of views. Could you tell us how do you want to vote? Would you like to support the gender quotas? You know, if you're not going to do what we want of you, then we will not vote for you. We have to be caring. We have to think that only through the sisterhood, through the friendly relationship, communications, unity, through the activity in the political parties, we can change the world. Work and do. Work and do, because it's we can be active. I always ask them, could you tell us? You know, maybe you remember the Ukrainian literature, Kaidasheva. Same, yeah. So, just start to do something and then I will join you. Let's do everything together. Let's unite and do it together. Demand from you, the people's deputy, talk about the women's problems, etc. Talk and start from the bottom up. So it depends on your decision and do it. Work inside with your local authorities and go and do it. Well, only together we can change it. Thank you, Svetlana. Yeah, you really inspired us. So we do have time for 2 questions, and that's it. We have 2 more people, those who would like to ask. So could you pass the microphone? If you have the very special question, please tell to whom. I have to Pani Vanda, to Mrs. Vanda. It's a proposal. I am Oglava Kalu from Zaporizhia. I'm a journalist, just a representative of the mass media company. Thank you for sharing the thoughts and ideas. But to Mrs. Vanda, I have the very special proposal and request. When we are talking about the SHEforSHE, yesterday we've been talking, and our activist, Lesa, eco-activist from Zaporizhia. Zaporizhia, it's a kind of it's a very traumatic, ecologically traumatic person. So, well, and the person went to Poland to the climate conference, and then she was captured and deported from Polish in Peremysl. Lesa is so active and so well. She went to Poland just to get more power and to get more arguments to prove and her desire to change, but she was so in great despair. So, and unfortunately, she's in Kiev. I would like to ask her to talk this issue, and I would like to ask you just not to comment this situation, but just could you please give 2 words of support to Olesya, to those ladies who are fighting against the climatic changes and they want to change the psychological climate. Could you tell me your support in response, please?
Якщо да, коротенько може бути.
Very briefly, if you please.
I'm not sure if I understood everything very well. And the person is Olesha? What was the...
Ми можемо, we can leave it after this.
Ви можете зробити це після.
I fully support women who came from Zaporozhye, and I'm personally very much in favor of promoting environmental savvy politics. So I hope everything will be fine. But probably I prefer to talk later on that. I need to know more details on that. Thank you.
Дякую дуже. Все про підтримку жінок. Давайте, якщо є запитання.
What about mentorship? My name is Alexandra Golub. A few words about myself. I'm the chief of the NGO to protect the rights of women. And together with my colleagues and my friends, we are from the Academy of the Girls Leadership. This is the project. We were inspired by the projects realized from your side. And I would like the girls to greet. This is our members of our organization. This is very good that we invited them to join the community, women's community. Because when I am talking about myself, I am in the school of Viktor Pinchuk, and also for me, it's a kind of a special way to join the community, the society of cool, nice, and very talented people, girls. I mean, Maria, I would like to ask you, you're doing a lot of important things. You are talking about the gender things. You are talking as an expert, and you are trying to use it in a so-called way of extreme. Well, how we can expand our audience, how to talk not with the experts, but also with the, more people. I think if you're if I think that this is mainstream, this is what I'm doing right. Yes, I always work with the word. I understand the word is the very powerful thing. You can word with the word. You can kill with the word. You can motivate with the word. Your word is very important. You have to put all your faith if you want to talk. I don't understand why people are so scary. So, well, it's out of the tradition, for example, here what we didn't do, and other, and other, and other. So, will you understand? You know, I saw your girls here. Do you understand that you are building the new society? Do you understand you are building the new society? Why? Because you are breaking the stereotypes. You just, you know, the woman of 20th century and the woman of 21st century, they are DNA, they have different DNA. On the level of DNA, they have differences. And it's also proved by scientific research. And, you know, it's very interesting. We can do more than a few years ago, even 100 years ago. Well, for one day, we can do a lot. We just change the DNA. I think even the center of the Earth also was changed. So let's talk. My advice is, and then that's my experience. 1 year ago, I was trying to do my best. Well, it was very interesting to talk to the men. A lot of men starting to come to meet with me. And why? Because they wanted to really to keep the relationship. So, well, I felt myself like Jesus Christ. So, anyway, it's just a joke. But I want to say, we have, and you have, not to follow my mistakes. You should not avoid the feminist slogans. Equal salaries for the women, equal rights, women save the world, etc. Rather avoid these slogans. Yeah, it's true. It's all that slogans. They use very aggressive feministic motives, notes, but you should not do it. You know, men are not responsible for this. I want to focus on it. We are not against the men, but we're for women. And, you know, I was also captured with this philosophy. But then I understood that it was a mistake. So we should not cultivate the so-called autonomy of the women. I always say that what to do without men, you have not to refuse from men, but in this union, you have to fight for your rights. You have to share your idea to your daughters. You have to say that your husband doesn't need a lot for you except love. She says, and he doesn't need a lot for you to do. Yeah, and so, well, you have to think of it. You have to find time for yourself, and it's very important. You don't make the mistake regarding the so-called demonization of the men. Ukrainian women, by their nature, they need to have man's power, but it's absolutely different story. You understand? Thank you. So we have the men, and I would like to ask the men to let him ask. Roman Horbak. The Roman Horbak from Sweden. Thank you for absolutely incredibly interesting panel, and we have the representatives of medias and celebrities. I have a question. Yesterday we had a very interesting day, as well as today's panel, but When I returned to my hotel after the Congress, or other participants, they switched on the TV and they saw the Ukrainian show program, and they saw the TV program with the so-called traditional jokes about feminists, etc. So, the feminists that they, other, for example, if you are bitten that you're a beloved one, etc. So, the question is what the celebrity and media can do in reality just to fight this bad things. Because we are a few hundreds years, but millions of Ukrainians, they are watching so bad samples on TV. What media should do and how to influence?
Хочу вам дещо сказати на це.
As a true feminist, I would like to respond to this. Maybe you receive this old stereotype cultivation in this way, because when I watch such things, I think it is sarcasm, it's an irony, probably sexism, probably I just don't watch those shows at all. So, if we can talk to Mr. Alexander Bogutsky with this question, the general director of the ICTV channel, he just responded that we should ban this from broadcasting altogether. No. You may ban, but people actually watch it, and you know what then happens with these shows. A lot of people watch them. It's not an excuse. It's a vicious circle, I would say, because TV is a business. TV is a huge business, as all the media, and I do think that nobody will give you the TV of new format. There won't be such shows, and I will get the floor, and I won't just take a lot of time for broadcasting. Nobody's going to watch that, you know? And they are not going to watch this because it would remind them that they have a very bad life. Sorry. People switch on TV to have a good laugh and to be diverted from their life. So this is a vicious circle, and I do agree with Olena Frolyak that partially, sometimes, you should include this information among these darkest news, because each news series at any channel, they should give some reports about volunteering, about charity, about inspirational things. But also, for example, with the sexist TV comic shows, if every TV editor-in-chief asked to make the same shows about social events, we would have had a lot of changes. Ms. Olena, would you like to respond to this? Of course.
Well, I think Alexander Bogutsky here, so well, you know, we had the program directors from CNN, so they have the lectures, and I asked them what to do when our people are so crazy to watch criminal stories, and they said, yes, it was 20-30 years ago we had the same. So, well, it's a program of growth, of development of the country. So, well, believe us, in 15-20 years you would stop to enjoy the criminal stories. It's the development things, just, you know, better read the book, but not to watch the show. I'm a former media person, you remember. Well, there is no former. There is in this question you can find also the answer. And yesterday we've been discussing this, and why we're here, why we're gathering here, why we're talking about this, what we can do, what we want. We're just quite successful, what we have and why we have to do. To build the future for our sons and daughters. And our task is, step by step, the world would be changed. We cannot change all at once. We have to establish the community, society, unity. we have to treat the journalists, and for example, they could come to the editor and say, come on, there are ratings, but let's do this and that and that. Let's stop this and that and that. And it's not only for us, it's for understanding of the owners of the channels, because there are very special business-oriented things, and there are things that are very damageable for the country. Only changes the consciousness, changes the mentality through changes of education, through changes in every of us. Thank you so much. I'm very thankful for everybody, for all participants of this very panel. And I'm very thankful with Mr. Bogutsky, but it's so he understands and will, because this is very unsafe to come to the women's forum and to sit on the first row, but it's okay. It's a fun. And I'm very thankful for your advices, for your support. I'm very happy that we just explained the mentorship. We're very happy that we proved that every of us are influential, and then it doesn't matter whether you're a celebrity or not, but we do have our own position and our own attitude. So I'm very thankful for everybody, those who are with us, staying with us, and it's not the end of our forum. And we do have the another thing. So well, we have the last family photo, the group photo. Soon, I think we will do our best to get rid of the bad place in hell for those who are not supporting the women. Thank you so much.
Дякуємо, пані Олю. І запрошуємо до спільного фото зі сцени. Шановні пані та панове, просимо вас не розходитися. Шановні пані та панове, просимо вас залишитися на місцях ще трішки маємо сказати вам важливих слів. Дуже б хотілося, щоб ви їх не пропустили, щоб ви їх почули. Ще трішки часу. Залиштесь, будь ласка, на своїх місцях. Шановні пані та панове, просимо зайняти свої місця. Шановні пані та панове, за хвилину розпочинаємо заключну частину нашого конгресу. Просимо залишатись на місцях. Пані та панове, просимо не забирати навушники зі собою, прилади синхронного перекладу. Залишайте їх, будь ласка, на кріслах. А ще краще, якщо ви ще залишитеся на кріслах. Шановні гості, слово звернення від організаторів за результатами роботи другого.
I would like to ask Jana Verteba to read the final word and greetings to all participants, and then for me, it's a very great honor, and now I'm going to read this letter on the understanding of the gender policy. And the gender policy is a very important element of all the policies of the state, from social till economical and military. The results of the regional congress in Odessa and Lviv, it was the determination of gaps and capacities, and just to enforce the local capacities in the fields or in the conditions of decentralizations. We would like to upgrade this possibility of the Congress as a platform and to form the gender policy methods and to include the participations and efforts for decision-making process. In the year 2018, we created the non-governmental organization Ukrainian Women's Congress. And the role of this Congress to enforce the communicating and advocative content, to support the decisions and resolutions which are working based on the events like this very Congress. We are also absolutely sure that the public organization, Ukrainian Women Congress, it's kind of a union of progressive men and women from different industries with the goal to enforce the gender mainstreaming process in the political and financial, medical spheres, the spheres of security, and they should be the basic elements for progress. And gender equality, it's a very sensible indicator to demonstrate how developed and democratic the state is. Ukraine is the country in the development process, and that is why the faster we will be available to deal with the reformations with the gender components, depends the future on this. The policy of the equal rights is also in our plan. And we're asking the deputies and authority officials, mass medias, and also the representatives of the business and private businesses. And we want to ask the recommendations following to enforce the political activity of the women by increasing the quote and party quote no less than 30% of the same gender. And to counterpart against the discrimination regarding the women activists, candidates, deputies, politicians, and others
that harm dignity and business reputation, and also ensure the responsibility of the guilty party, to promote gender quota supporting campaign and promoting women candidate among the population in terms of the support for women in elections. Gender monitoring promotion in 2019 to promote economic and expanding of economic capacity for women using the legislation demolition of the salary gap between men and women, as well as anti-discrimination on the labor place and in work office. The urgent plan making to solve the issue of low salary in medicine, education and social sphere where most of the women work, developing of the complex program for women, involving them into economic activity, legislatory introduction of the gender quotas in big companies and financial support from state and commercial banks for the women's enterprises. Also, the ensuring of state investments into education for girls from STEM specialities, fathership support and creation of the family and child-friendly environment, the local programs for provision of combination, the care for child and professional activity, including best international practices. Point 3, to ensure gender equality within the defense and security sectors, as well as law enforcement, as well as removing discriminations and having equal preparations for men and women when getting military and battlefield posts, involving women into military and police service as the indispensable element of peacemaking, monitoring of the protection of laws for men and women in security and military sectors, including the men and women who are veterans. The development of the policy for the family support who lost the relative in the battlefield, including the gender component into communication strategy connected with the security of the information field. The fourth point, to ensure the principles of equal rights and opportunities for men and women by accepting and adopting the laws on ratification on Istanbul Convention. Also, by approving by the Cabinet of Ministers the strategy on gender education. The holding of advocacy and informational campaigns aimed at women and men participation in fighting violence and gender discrimination, as well as making popular progressive views of the gender-oriented approaches in family decision-making and responsible parenthood. The support from network and non-governmental organizations to ensure men and women equal rights, and also spreading the mentor programs among men and women who keep the principles of gender equality. Fifth and the last, to institutionalize the gender-oriented budget principles in the budget system at all the levels. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Yana. And then we just, kindly ask you for the final words. We would like to invite the co-head of the equal possibilities, Ms. Olena Kondratyuk, the member of the Parliament of Ukraine. So we're coming to the end, but my mom would like to express special thanks to all who supported to organize this Congress. First of all, I would like to express Sophia and our Maria Ionova, my colleague, who just really made a lot for it. So he just stayed okay after these 2 days. So I would like to express thanks to Mrs. Wojciechowska Svetlana, Aliona Babak, to also thanks to our stable promoter in Parliament, Irina Gerashenko, thank you. And also to us, Irina Ryutova, Yana Verteba, Tatiana Shvets, Irina Andreychenko, Maxine Ardelan. Thank you so much, very special thanks. Oksana Vasilieva, all the mentioned names, thank you. Thank you to all of them. So thank you to Alina Lirnik, to our Master of Ceremony. Anna Nikolaenko. We're very thankful to our photographs of interpreters, Natalia Moskovets and Valentina Kushnerova. Thank you so much. Thank you. Dear ladies and gentlemen, we had fantastic 2 days together, and for us, the great hope for us is that this Congress, and really Congress is very successful. So, well, we got such a wonderful feedback. So, well, I'm even missing 2 English and Ukrainian languages. So, well, we hope that the third Congress would be again held in Ukraine. So, well, thank you so much. Thank you to everyone. We've been doing a lot of things. We're trying to do our best. Even our kids came to us just to listen to what we are doing. We're just doing everything for them. Thank you so much. And we're very glad, we were happy, and we were doing the best. And together we are the great power. Thank you. Thank you for having this 2 days with us. So, well, and see you next time during the third Ukrainian Women's Congress. Thank you.
Шановні пані та панове, просимо залишати прилади синхронного перекладу на кріслах. Я нагадую, другий Український жіночий конгрес, організований ГО «Український жіночий конгрес» за ініціативи міжфракційного депутатського об'єднання у Верховній Раді України «Рівні можливості» у партнерстві з Національним демократичним інститутом, Агентством США з міжнародного розвитку, структурою ООН «Жінки в Україні», проектом «Проміс» та Федерацією канадських муніципалітетів, проектом «Гендерне бюджетування в Україні», Міжнародною фундацією виборчих систем, Бюро з демократичних інститутів і прав людини ОБСЄ, Офісом Ради Європи в Україні, Представництвом Європейського Союзу в Україні, Фондом ООН у галузі народонаселення, Міжнародною організацією Global Communities, Швецією, посольствами Норвегії, Данії, Канади і Великої Британії в Україні та Фондом розвитку ефективного врядування Великої Британії, фондом імені Генріха Бьолля, фондом Олени Пінчук, компаніями Coca-Cola та Horizon Capital.